All right, so here's your Unit 11 exam review. All right, number 1 and 2. It says, order the group of quadratic functions from widest to narrowest. All right, so what you have to remember for these is the larger the coefficient, remember your coefficient is your number in front of x. The larger the coefficient, the skinnier the graph. And we got to go from fattest to skinniest. Alright, we got to go from fattest to skinniest. So, the largest number is going to be the skinniest. So, the y equals 3x cubed, that's going to be the skinniest. Now, the one with the smallest coefficient is going to be the fattest. Well, which one of those has the smallest coefficient? Well, y equals x squared because it's a 1. Because remember, there's an understood 1 there. So that leaves the 2x squared to be in the middle. So the answer for number 1 is C on your paper. Alright, number 2, same thing. Which one's the smallest coefficient? Well, you have 1/5, 3/5, negative 2/3. Smallest is 1/5. Alright, now 3/5 or negative 2/3. Which one is larger? Well, we know that 2/3 is 3/5 is 0.6. We know that 2/3 is 0.666 repeating. Alright, so we know that this is the largest, this is the second largest. Now, and for terms of just which one's the skinniest, which one's the fattest, you don't have to worry about negatives. These negatives are irrelevant for this question. All that means is that these two open upwards, whereas this one is upside down and opens downwards. But it doesn't affect how fat or skinny it is. The negative, that's all it does is flip upside down. Alright? Number 3. 3 talks about dropping a penny out a window. Actually, it's not a penny. It says if an object is dropped from a height of 116 feet, the function h of t equals negative 16t squared plus 116 gives the height of the object after t seconds. When will the object hit the ground? This problem is a lot easier than it seems, guys. When whatever you drop out the window hits the ground, what's the height going to be? Well, it's going to be 0, because it's going to be on the ground. So the height is 0. That's like you're sitting in your chair probably, or laying on your bed, or wherever you're watching this video from. How high are you above what you're sitting or laying on? Well, you're on it, so you're 0 feet above it. Alright, so 0 equals negative 16t squared plus 116. So let's solve for t. Minus the 116, minus the 116, so negative 116 equals negative 16t squared. Now we're dividing off the negative 16. So t squared equals negative was a positive. 116 divided by that is, well, I know the answer. I forgot to work this out previously. The answer comes out to 2.69 seconds. So this would be 2.69 squared. Alright? I forgot to do that one in the calculators all the way across the room. But this is how you do it. 116 divided by 16, that will give you this number. Then take the square root of both sides. And of course you can throw out the negative one in this case, because it's time. You can't have negative time. We can't go backwards in time. Alright? So, there we go. Well, I guess you can go backwards in time, but you have to have a DeLorean with a flux capacitor, and you got to go 88 miles an hour. And you got to have 1 gigawatts worth of electricity. But anyway, that's completely irrelevant to this. Alright? So, that's how you do number 3. That's 3. And the answer comes out to be letter D. That's a D. Alright? Let's go to number 4. Number 4 says, graph the function. Alright, well, if you notice, they have 4 functions graphed for you. Alright, our function is f of x equals x squared plus 4x plus 1. So they have them graphed for you. Well, since it's positive, that means it opens up. So you can cross out letter B immediately because it opens down. Alright? Now let's find our axis of symmetry, because they list the axis of symmetry on all three of them. And if it happens to come out that our axis of symmetry is -2, we're done with the problem. So your formula for axis of symmetry is -b divided by 2a. So that's -4 divided by 2 times a, which is 1. So it's -4 over 2, which is -2. So if you look at our graphs, only one of them has an axis of symmetry of -2. And that would be letter C. Alright? So let's keep going. Alright, next page. Sorry this came out on so many pages, but hey. Alright, number 5. We have f of x equals -2x squared plus 2x minus 1. Alright, the negative means it opens down, so go through all and cross out letter C immediately because it opens up. Alright? Alright, so let's go. And well, another one you can cross out. If you look at letter D, the point they have there for the vertex, they didn't even give you the right coordinates for that. So you can cross out C and D immediately, and now we've narrowed it down to A or B. So again, let's find our axis of symmetry. Alright, -b over 2a. So it's -2 over 2 times -2, which is, you have negative, negative, so it's positive, so it's 2 over 4, which is 1/2. So our axis of symmetry is 1/2. And letter B is the only one we have left with an axis of symmetry of 0.5. Alright, so that was number 5. Letter B. Number 6 is the same type of problem again. Alright, we have x squared minus 9 equals 0. Let's get that out of there. Alright, so again, it's positive, so that means it opens up. So go through and cross out all the ones that open down, which in this case is letter A. Cross out letter A immediately, because it opens down and our graph opens up, because our leading coefficient is positive. Solve for x. X squared equals 9. Well, let me tell you what I'm doing. I added 9 to both sides. Square root, x equals plus minus 3. That means it crosses the x-axis at 3 and -3. Answer is C, because that is the only one that crosses at 3 and -3 and opens up. Alright? So that's how we do that one. Number 7. A lot of graphs on here. What are the solutions for 2x squared equals 8? Again, solve for x. Divide by 2. X squared equals 4. Square root both sides. X equals positive -2. So, and it's positive, so that means it opens up. So which one opens up and crosses at positive and -2? The answer is C. Alright? So the answer is C for number 7. Let's look at number 8. I believe we're going to do the same thing. Find the solutions. Solve the equation using square roots. All that means is this. X squared minus 81 equals 0. So, add the 81 to both sides. X squared equals 81. Take the square root, because we're solving using square roots. X equals positive -9. Letter C. Letter C. Alright? Don't forget on that one, you're going to have your positive and your negative because you're taking the square root. Alright, let's do this one. 3x squared equals, well, minus 147 equals 0, so that means 3x squared equals 47. Divide both sides by 3. X squared equals 49. Square root, x equals positive -7. Which one is that? That is also letter C. Alright, so that's how you do. That was 8 and 9. Let's go to 10. 10 says 4x squared minus 328 equals 72. Add the 328 to both sides. 4x squared equals 400. Divide both sides by 4. X squared equals 100. Square roots. X equals positive -10. So the answer C yet again. All right. Number 11. The area of a playground. So, area of a playground is 20 square yards. The length of the playground is 5 times longer than its width. So we can call its width x, its length 5x. We want to find the length and width of the playground. Remember, for the area of a rectangle, it's length times width. So our area, which is 20, should equal 5x times x. So 20 equals 5x squared, and now just solve for x like we've been doing. X squared equals 4, square roots. X equals positive negative 2. But in this case, we can throw out the negative because that'll give us a negative length, and that doesn't make sense. All right, plug it back in. Our length is 10. Our width is 2. All right, just plug in the 2's. Length is 10, width is 2. So again, the answer is letter C. All right. Number 12, solve using the zero product property. It's about the easiest thing in the world. All right, x minus 9, x plus 7 equals 0, which means that x minus 9 equals 0. Add 9, x equals 9. And that means that x plus 7 also equals 0. Subtract 7, x equals negative 7. So your answers are 9 and negative 7. The answer is D. Alright? So that's pretty much a zero product property because it doesn't matter if this equals 0 or if this equals 0. If either one of these is 0, the whole thing is 0 because you're multiplying by 0. Alright, so set this equal to 0, solve for x. Set this equal to if I can talk. Set this equal to 0, solve for x. Set this equal to 0, solve for x. You're done. Alright, let's look at 13. 13 is a zero product property again. So we have 2x minus 4 times 2x minus 1 equals 0. So 2x minus 4 equals 0. Add 4. 2x equals 4, divide off the 2, x equals 2. 2x minus 1 equals 0, add 1, 2x equals 1, divide off the 2, x equals 1/2. So one of your answers is 2, the other one is 1/2, so the answer is B as in boy. Alright? That was 13. Let's go to 14. 14, we need to find the solutions to the equations for 14 through 21 looks like z squared minus 6z plus 27 equals 0. Alright, so let's try factoring it first. That's what I always do. Alright, since this is positive, that means both of these are the same. Since this is negative, that means they both have to be negative. So z, z. So what multiplies to give you 27, but adds to give you negative 6? Let's think. And I made a typo. This is negative. So since this is negative, that means we have one of each, okay? And since this is negative, our larger number is going to be negative. Now that makes this problem a lot easier. Well, multiplies to give us negative 27, adds to give us negative 6. Well, that's negative 9 and a positive 3. Because 9 times 3 is 27. Since you have one of each, it's negative. Negative 9 plus 3, negative 6. Now use your zero product property. Z minus 9 equals 0. Add 9, z equals 9. Do the same thing here, and you're going to get a negative 3. So the answer is C, yet again, negative 3 and 9. All right? Next. Yes, I know I'm going quick. You can always rewind. All right, what I would do, factor out of 3. 2. equals 0. Alright, so again, it's negative. So that means you have one of each. Positive, our largest number is positive. 2, cool thing about 2, it only has 2 factors, 1 and 2. We know our largest one has to be positive. So there we go, equals 0, 3, although the 3 is kind of irrelevant at this point. So set z plus 2 equal to 0, so z equals negative 2. And when you set this equal to 0, you get a positive 1. So the answer is A, 1, negative 2. 1, negative 2. Alright, let's keep going. You have c squared minus 4c equals 0. Factor out of c. You have c minus 4 equals 0. Which means c equals 0 right off the bat, because regardless what this is, if c is 0, you're multiplying by 0. Alright? Now set c minus 4 equal to 0. Add 4, so c equals 4. So c is 0 and 4, so the answer is letter C yet again. Alright, next one. What are we on? 17? I'm keeping track of the numbers. Alright, we have 15 equals 8x squared minus 14x. Alright, here's what I'd do. Subtract the 15 from both sides. 0 equals 8x squared minus 14x minus 15. Alright, now we're going to try to factor this beast. Well, we have 8 here and 15 here. We've got a 14 in the middle. So we can try to factor it, or what we can do is we can just go ahead and say, run it through the quadratic formula or whatnot. So if you tried to factor it, this would be a little difficult because the factors of 8 are 8 and 1 and 4 and 2. Factors of 15 are 1 and 15 and 3 and 5. And we're going to get a 14 in the middle here. Alright? We're going to get a 14 in the middle. And since this is negative and this is positive, since both of these are negative, we know our largest term is negative and we have one of each. Alright? So if we did the 8 and 1 and the 1 and 15, that's obviously not going to work because our number, there's no way to do 8 and 15 and get a 14. So it's obviously going to have to be these two in some relation. Right? So 4 times 3 is 12, this is 10, that doesn't work. But 20 and 6 do work. And we're going to write this in such a way that the 20 is the negative number. Alright, so we can put a 4x here, and a 2x here, put our 3 here, and our 5 here, because now what happens is when we multiply this, we get negative 20x plus 6x, which is, in fact, our negative 14x. So this one is factorable, but it takes a little bit more work. And it only works if you're good. If you're good at factoring by guess and check method, be my guest, do it. If you know any other way to factor, be my guest. If you can tic-tac-toe, I think there's something called a box method. If you can do those, do them. But if you look at this and you're like, I don't know if that factors, run it through a quadratic formula, and you'll be able to get it a lot quicker than trying to factor it. All right? I'm fairly decent at guess and check, so that's why I went ahead and did guess and check, and it actually worked out. All right? So now, of course, this equals 0, so now set these individually equal to 0. Minus 3, 4x equals negative 3. So x equals negative 3/4. Over here, 2x minus 5 equals 0. 2x equals 5. X equals 5 halves. So the answer is D, negative 3/4 and 5 halves. Alright, so as you can see, this one is, like I said, this one is factorable, but unless you're really good at factoring, it may be faster to just go ahead and put this through the quadratic formula, because the quadratic formula will always work. Alright? Because the one case, if the quadratic formula doesn't work and you're taking the square root of a negative number, you know you have no order of solution, so technically it still worked because you still found your solution, so to speak, knowing that you don't have any. Alright? Let's go to 18. 18, the first thing we got to do is move everything over to one side. Alright, move everything over to one side. So we have 6x squared minus 17x plus 13 equals 20x squared minus 32. I'm going to move everything over to the right because I'm going to subtract this so I'll keep my x's positive. Minus 6x squared minus 6x squared plus 17x plus 17x minus 13 minus 13. 0 equals 20 minus 6, 14x squared plus 17x minus 45. Alright, now again for this one, you may just want to go ahead and run it through the quadratic formula because you have 1 and 14, 2 and 7 for the 14. For the 45, you have 1 and 45, and you have 5 and 9. Alright, but as you can see, the 14 and the 1 and the 45 won't work. So we have to manipulate these to get these to work. And again, we're going to have one of each because this is negative, this is positive. So now our largest term is going to be positive. Alright, we need to get a 14 out of this. So 9 times 7 is 63. Well, 63 and 10, that's too high. So let's do 2 times 9, which is 18. 7 times 5 is 35. Well, there you go. 2, 15, 8 and 8, 16. So 8 and 7 is 15, and then 1. There's our 17. Alright? We just have to make sure that our 35 comes out positive. To make sure our 35 comes out positive, we need to put those numbers here. So the 7 and the 5 to get positive 35, and it's 5x. No, it's not. It's 7x. I got to reverse those. 7x, because 7 was the factor of 14, and 5 was the factor of 45. So now your 2x would go here, and your 9 would go here. And then when you do your multiplication, you're going to get negative 18x and then plus 35x, which gives us the plus 17. Alright? So now you just simply set these equal to 0, solve for x. So you have 2x equals negative 5, x equals negative 5 over 2, and then 7x equals 9, so x also equals 9/7. So the answer for this one is B. Negative 5 halves and 9/7. So again, it is factorable. It does take a little longer to factor because of the bigger numbers, but it is possible. But like I said, quadratic formula will always work. So you could just go ahead and from the beginning run this through quadratic formula, and it'll be a lot faster if you're not good at factoring. Alright? What was that? 18. Number 19. Tasha is planning the expansion of a square flower garden. There's your key word. A square. We know all the sides are the same length in a square. Alright? We also know the formula for a square is length times width, but since they're both the same, it's just a side length squared. Alright, and she's going to extend them by 7 feet, or meters, whatever, 7 meters. Alright, we don't know what the original is, but we know we're going to add 7 to it. Alright, so now our area equals 144, and since we have one side length, we can plug that into our formula, x plus 7 squared. Right, so here's a formula. Remember, we just found a side length. Since our area equals a side squared, once we found a side, which is we don't know the original, but we're extending it by 7, so x plus 7, we set our area, which they gave us, to 144 equals x plus 7, and since it's side squared, it's x plus 7 squared. Now, Keep solving, take the square root of both sides. 12 equals x plus 7 minus 7 minus 7, x equals 5. The original flower garden was 5 by 5. So the answer is letter D. All right. Number 20. What is the value of c such that x squared plus 14x plus c is a perfect square trinomial? What a perfect square trinomial means you can do x plus or minus something squared. It's a perfect square trinomial. So we need to figure out what c is. So you're basically going to put here the square root of c. All right? So the easiest way to do this is completing the square. Completing the square. You take half of your b term. Half of 14 is 7. Don't worry about the x. Half of 14 is 7. Now, square that, and that is your c value. 7 squared, 49. Now, our perfect square trinomial is going to be x plus 7 squared. Alright? But all they wanted was the 49. So the answer was D. Alright, 21 is the same thing. X squared minus 11x plus c. I'm going to leave the plus c off. Take this number and half it. So you have negative 11 over 2, but then when you square it, the negative is irrelevant. So this would be plus, you square the top and bottom individually, 121 over 4. So your answer is 121 over 4, which is B. Alright? So that's all there is to that one. That's all there is to that one. Or both of these, really. Just take that middle term, and square it. And then take the square root of it. Well, no, you don't have to take the square root of it. Never mind. Alright, solve by completing the square. X squared plus 7x, I'm going to leave some space, equals negative 12. Again, do the same thing. Half this term and square it. So half of 7 is 3.5. 3.5 squared. I don't have a calculator with me. So 5 times 5 is 25. 15, 17. 0. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 3 is 9. 10. 5. 12. 2. 1. So 12.25. Alright. Alright. So now, what you do to this side, you got to do this side. So you got to add the 12.25 over here as well. Alright. So now this comes down to x plus 3.5 squared equals 0.25. Alright, square root both sides. X plus 3.5 equals square root of 25. Well, 25 is 1/4. Square root of 1/4, you square root them individually, so that's 0.5. Yes, it got bigger. That's okay. Now we're going to subtract the 3.5 from both sides. X equals negative 3. Alright. And then, yeah. So x equals negative 3. So the answer for this one is B. Alright. Let's move on. I'm getting tired. I'm talking too fast. Wait a second. What did I say there? X. Because you have to do plus or minus. So, sorry, I made a mistake there. You have to do plus or minus. So you have the minus 3, and then you got to plus it. So that's where you get the negative 3 and the 4. Okay, and the negative 4. Alright? Because you have, what was it, x, I don't remember now, plus 3.5. It should have been positive negative 0.5. So when you subtract You have negative 3.5 minus 0.5, which is negative 4. All right. Then you have negative 3.5 plus 0.5, which that is what gives you the negative 3 for your answer. All right. Because when you took the square root of this, you just canceled out the square root. But when you take the square root of this, you've got to have the positive and negative. All right. So that's where that comes from. Now 10's done the same way. I mean, not 10, 23, so I'm going to do it a little quicker. So half this 5 squared 25, you've got to add it over here. So this is x plus 5 squared equals 8 and 5 is 13, 2, 3, 4. Square root both sides. So you have x plus 5 equals plus or minus the square root of 43. Minus 5, x equals minus 5 plus or minus the square root of 43. I don't have a calculator to convert that, but all you can do is punch this into your calculator, and the answer comes out to a negative 11.56 and 1.56. All right? So there's that one. So now we have x squared minus 2x. I'm going to go ahead and move the 8 over. Since it's a minus 8 on this side, it'll be a plus 8 on that side. Half this, 1 squared, 1. Add 1. X plus, actually, this is x minus 1. Just see that's a negative. Squared equals 9. Square root both sides, x minus 1 equals 3. Add 1, plus minus 3, sorry. X equals 1 plus 3 is 4. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. So we have 4, negative 2. Which one was that? Did I do that wrong? No, I didn't. So the answer's not matching up. Answer key said it was B, but it looks like it's C. Unless I wrote that down now. Ah! This is plus. Dang it. Why'd y'all let me do that? Alright, so it's negative 4 and a plus 2. Alright? Negative 4 and a plus 2. See, even we make mistakes too. We meaning teachers. But that's why it's important to show your work, because I found where my mistake was. If I hadn't shown my work, I would have never have found my mistake. I'd have done the entire problem over again. Alright, so it's a minus 14 here, so let's put it over here and make it plus 14. Half of 9 is 4.5, so this is 4.5 squared plus 4.5 squared. I'm kind of cheating there. So this is x plus 4.5 squared equals, well, I'm going to have to square it out. 4.5, 4.5, 5 times 5 is 25, 22, 0, 20, 4 times 4 is 16, 18. So this is 5, 2, 0, 2, 20.25. 20.25 square root. So x plus 4.5 equals plus or minus the square root of 20.25. Got to add 14. Darn it. I'm in too big a hurry. 14 plus 20.25. So that's 34.25. So this is plus or minus the square root of 34.25. So minus the 4.5. X equals negative 4.5 plus or minus the square root of 34.25. Whoops. 0.25. Again, I don't have my calculator up here with me. The answer comes out to be D. But you just simply punch this into your calculator and it'll give you your value. Okay? Plug it in the calculator and give you your value. Alright, 26. Use the quadratic formula to solve the equation. So first thing I'm going to do, x squared plus 3 equals negative 4x. Add the 4x to bring it back over here. X squared plus 4x plus 3 equals 0. So now use your quadratic formula, negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a. So this is negative 4 plus or minus 4 squared minus 4 times 1 times 3 all divided by 2 because a is 1. So negative 4 plus or minus the square root. 16 minus 12. What's 16 minus 12? That's 4 over 2. At least this one came out an easy answer. So negative 4 plus or minus square root of 4, which is 2, divided by 2. So negative 4 plus 2. Negative 4 plus 2 over 2. Negative 4 plus 2 is negative 2 over 2, which is negative 1. Hope you all can see that. And then when you do the negative 4 minus 2 over 2, negative 4 minus 2 is negative 6 over 2, which is negative 30. So your answers are x equals negative 3, negative 1, B. Proof you can do the quadratic formula without a calculator. Alright. Next. Remember, like I said, I'm going quick because you can always pause, rewind, back up, do whatever. Alright. So, again, bring the 9x over here. Remember, it changes signs. So, negative b, that's 9, plus or minus 9 squared, because since you're squaring it, the negative is irrelevant. Minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is 3, all divided by 2. Well, really 2a, but a is 1. Alright, so we have 9 plus or minus the square root of 81 minus 12 over 2. So that is 9 plus or minus the square root of 81 minus 12. 7, 11, that's not, wow, why is this so difficult? Oh, I just brain farted. 9. And then 6. I have no clue why I brain farted that. And the light keeps turning off. Alright, so you have 9 plus or minus the square root of 69 over 2. Again, you would want to plug this into your calculator. And the answer would come out to C. Because the square root of 69, it doesn't break down, so you just have to plug that into the calculator to figure it out. Alright. 28. Says, what method would you choose to solve this? Alright, what method would you choose to solve this? 3x squared minus 24 equals 0. Well, since there's no x term, I'd use square roots. I'd add the 24, divide by 3, take the square root of both sides, you're done. So I'd use square roots, so that's answer A. Letter B, you have x squared minus 6x plus 8 equals 0. Well, for this one's easily factorable because you know both of your signs are negative. 8 is 4 and 2, so negative 4, negative 2. That multiplies to give you positive 8, adds to give you negative 6. So I would factor it because it's easily factorable. Alright? So this is 28, this is 29. Alright, I would use square roots on this one again because you just add the 24, divide by 3, take the square root, and this one's easily factored, so I would just factor that one. Alright, let's go to 30. 30 says, how many solutions does this have? How many real solutions? Remember, for this one you use the discriminant. The discriminant is what's underneath the square root in the quadratic formula. So it's b squared minus 4ac. If this equals a positive number, you have 2 real solutions. If b squared minus 4ac equals 0, you have 1 real solution, and it is called a double root. It means your vertex is on the x-axis. If b squared minus 4ac equals a negative number, this problem has no soul. Alright? So let's figure it out. B squared, 6 squared, minus 4 times negative 7 times 3. Well, 6 squared, double negative, that makes it positive. 6 squared plus anything is going to be a positive number. We have 2 real solutions. 30 is B. Alright, 30 is B. So as you can see, you really ain't even got to finish some of these. Alright, let's look at 31. 31 is negative 8x squared minus 8x minus 2. So b squared, 8 squared minus 4 times a times c. So triple negative, so that means our answer is going to be negative. So 8 squared is 64 minus 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 8 is 64. Oh, that equals 0. We have one real solution, and it is a double root. So the answer is A for 31. And now 32, this is the last one like this. 32, you have 7x squared plus 8x plus 5 equals 0. So again, b squared, 8 squared minus 4 times a times c. 64, and this is 7 times 20. Well, 7 times 20 is 140. This will give you a negative number, no soul. Alright, so 32 has no soul. Alright, 33. It says graph the points and figure out what type of graph it is. For this one, I'm not really going to write anything down. I'm just going to talk you through it. Alright, for 33, if you were to plot those 3 points, alright, for one thing, after you plotted them, you would see that B and D, the points are physically in the wrong location. So you know that ain't going to work because they're in the wrong spot. Okay? So, it's up to A and C. Well, if you notice, they make a nice straight line. So therefore, it's a linear function. And the answer is A. Alright? 34, I'm going to do the same thing. We're just going to talk through it. Plot your points. Well, after you plot your points, you will see that the only two that make sense right off after you plot your points are B and C. Alright? Are B and C. And then when you look at it, it clearly forms a quadratic equation. So the answer is B. Alright, because it clearly forms a quadratic equation. Alright, 35. If you look at your table, the x's go up by 1s, which is good. The y's go up by 0.5 each time. So, since what you're going up by, you're adding every time. Your x's go up by 1, your y's go up by 0.5. That means you have a linear function, so the answer is A. Alright, so the answer is A. Letter C. I'm sorry, that's the answer for 36. Number 36, if you notice, the x's go up by 1s, but the y's go up by times 4. Alright, since they're going up by times 4, that means that your model will be exponential, and the answer is C. Alright, we don't have to figure out an equation for those, we just have to figure out what they represent. Since you're multiplying by 4, it's an exponential function. Now for 37, they do say write an equation. Alright, well if you notice, you have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1.4, I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. 2, 5.9, 9.8, 13.7, 17.6. Alright, so if you notice, for this one, it looks like we're taking something, multiplying it by this number. We're taking something, multiplying it by x, and adding 2. Alright, so what I would do is subtract 2 from this. What do you get? You get 3.9. That's probably what you're multiplying by. Subtract 2 from this, you get 7.8. What's half of 7.8? 3.6, 3.9. So there, we just figured it out. Y equals 3.9 x plus 2. So there's your equation. So just simple reasoning through it. Alright? Simple reasoning through it. 38. Alright, 38. We have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1.4, 2.8, 5.6, 11.2, 22.4. So again, if you look at this, it looks like we're multiplying 1.4 by 2, you know, we're multiplying it by 2 each time, and we're doubling it. But how would we represent this? Because this would be just 1.4, so it looks like it's just y equals, you know, something plus 1.4. But that's actually not the case. If you notice, we multiply by 2, and then we add 1.4 each time. Okay, so we're adding 1.4 each time, but we can't just add them all up. So for this one, our equation, right, we need to take that 1.4 into account. But now what's going to give us the multiplying by 2 and adding the 1.4 each time that we need? Well, if we multiply that by 2 raised to the x, if you notice, 2 to the x is 0. I mean, 2 to the 0 is 1, so that's 1.4. 2 to the 1 is 2, so that's times 2. 2 squared is 4. 1.4 times 4 is 5.6. So there's your equation. All right? There's your equation. 1.4 times 2 raised to the x. All right? Not too bad. Not too bad. That took a little more thinking, but still, you know, not relatively bad. And the last one, number 39. What would you use to solve this guy? What would you use to solve that guy? Well, it doesn't look like it's easily factorable. So what I would do is I would just go ahead and throw this bad boy through the quadratic formula. Because the quadratic formula will always work. It'll either tell you you have 2 solutions, 1 solution, or no real solutions. So the quad form will always work. Alright, so this has been your test review. I know it's been kind of a long video, but I need to go over all 39 problems. Alright, so I know this has been a longer video. Watch as many times as you need to. You could have fast forwarded to the ones you needed. Important thing, come tomorrow ready for the exam. See you tomorrow.